Hi guys, in this video, I'm gonna share with you guys a step-by-step process on how I design my high-selling product. I sold over 70,000 orders on Etsy within just 2 years. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to creating high-converting, high-ranking product. And I'm gonna give you a step-by-step how I go from graphic design to actually making the product. So make sure to stick around. If you are a print-on-demand or you have any control over your creation of your product, this is the video you'll wanna watch if you wanna create high-converting product. Hi guys, my name is Vlad. I'm the owner of Tag Pup. It is the #1 pet product store on Etsy in terms of daily volume and sales. Second place, third place, they all sell maybe half. Sometimes I triple their daily sales. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to creating high converting product or design. In this video, I'm gonna share with you guys how I go from design to the finished product, how I research the color palette, research the graphic design that works for a particular product, and how I bring it into production so that you guys can replicate the ideas and the concepts for your products. If you are a print on demand or you have any control over producing your product, this is the video for you. So without any further ado, let's jump on my computer. So we're gonna be doing Easter theme as it's coming up. I need to design some Easter collars, Easter dog collars, and the first thing I like to do is I like to go on Etsy and I start typing in keywords pertaining to that theme, and I want to see what Etsy has to offer because customers have voted with their clicks and their purchases, and I want to find those advantages of each product, why it got up there, and what are the disadvantages or what's lacking with the overall market so that I can provide the value and use whatever is working in my own product. So once I get a few things that I like to screenshot anything that I do like. The next thing I like to do is go over to Pinterest. People that go on Etsy have a tendency to be the same people that go on Pinterest. And I want to know what they think about when they're thinking about Easter. What are their plans in terms of color palettes, in terms of textures, florals? I try to discover color palettes and prepare my product or my dog collar with similar color palettes, because when the customers go in on Etsy, they already have kind of an idea, a general idea of the kind of colors they're looking for, similarities in what they have liked in the past. If I can be ready with a product that matches that color palette or that style, then I have a better shot to converting that visitor to customer. So I'm in Pinterest, I'm pretty much typing any kind of keyword regarding to Easter, Easter flowers, Easter designs, Easter color palettes, and I'm trying to get ideas that look great and something that the customers also here voted with their clicks to be to the top page. That's why I don't go to the second page or anything like that. I want to find out exactly what have been voted to the top in Pinterest. And then after Pinterest, I like to go on Google. Google is a place where I like to find out different designs for dog collars specifically into a very specific theme, because dog collar designing gives you a really thin artboard that you have to design with, and I want to see all the ideas that people have come up with, and anything that catches my attention, anything that inspires me to design my own dog collar, I try to screenshot that, any color or organization of graphics or even the types of graphics that they are using that just looks good to me. And same thing here, people voted with their clicks, with their visits, and so once I've got all of that, all the screenshots, I drop them into Illustrator and I start to kind of organize it. I organize all the collars and the graphics that I like to the right, and then all the color palettes to the left. And some of the pictures that I did like in terms of color, I just move them over, and I start to kind of, with a color selection tool, select those colors and creating my own color palette. I usually get about 3 to 4 color palettes ready before I start to make my decisions of what I want to do. I like to have a variety of different types of color palettes. And with this particular dog collar, I really like the colors on this one. So I decided hey, what if I copy the colors as close as I can to the dog collar and then adjust accordingly. The two things that I didn't like about the colors slightly was the pink was a little too pink, so I wanted to make it more blush, and then the blue was a little too blue and I wanted a little bit more teal. But I do like how this collar looks like. I even had the idea that, hey, maybe I can use those stripes down, but maybe not so even like they have them here, but maybe create some sort of an uneven striping pattern. And so once I got my color palette, I adjusted the colors to make it more teal and blush pink to be a little bit more blush. I went back to Google to start researching stripe patterns because I really like that whole up and down stripes. And initially I thought, what can I do in terms of stripe patterns? Should I do sideways? Should I do kind of this uneven? Should I go abstract? But then again, I did like that, geometry to it, that the things were evenly spaced. I was even thinking about maybe I can do some kind of a brush stroke, some hand-drawn stripes, kind of like that. But then it was like, no, what intrigued me about that collar was the fact that the lines were straight and they were even, but I don't want them to be too bold like that. I want to have some sort of pattern, some sort of unevenness, but at the same time having a pattern of its own. So I came across this one. I really like this pattern. It does have that bold blockiness to it, but it has the little thin lines that break it up a little bit. But so it creates a little bit of uniqueness. So after I found it, I pretty much recreated the pattern so I can start infusing that pattern with my color palette that I have selected, which is the last one, as you can see. And I decided to make each pillar, the thicker pillar, have the main color. So pretty much assign each of those colors to a pillar, and then take the thinner lines to match the color next door. So like the blush or the pink one will have the yellow line in center, and then the yellow will have the teal line in it. So that seemed to work really well. I love how it's turning out. That's just my first design. After I've designed this one, I will then move on to the next sort of design. I don't like to just make one design. I like to make like 3 or 4, because sometimes I choose out of them after I design what I like, and then after I print, I also choose what I didn't like and what I liked. So that one looks great, and I moved on to the next one. I like how the rabbits kind of sideways, the bunnies are positioned sideways or up and down. So I want to find some bunnies. So I go on Creative Market to save me on time. I like to support other artists with this endeavor. I don't want anything sketchy. I don't want anything kind of like this realistic, watercolor. I want something bubbly, and I came across these bunnies. These were perfect to what I needed. They have this kind of anime inflatable bunny thing. So I bought the license, paid the guy the money. I'll have the links in the description if you are interested in more of his work. I think he did a great job. So I took the art and I brought it into Illustrator, and I started to play around with the graphics. Now I want to keep faithful to the color palette, so I took away the purple and the green because that's not in my color palette. I want to make sure that I kind of have a holistic or a unified look. So I took out the green, took out the purple, and just went with the 3 colors. I like the simplicity of these bunnies, so I just lined them up like that and left them and moved on to the next design. In the next pattern, what I thought I was gonna do is take all those graphics and start to make a pattern kind of like on that bow tie that I saw, and organize them geometrically, because these patterns or the graphics that I did purchase, they have a little bit of a symmetrical, very geometric look to them. And so I thought, hey, what if I make the pattern to be somewhat geometric, somewhat symmetrical? And I pretty much created a grid and started to spread out these graphic designs throughout the grid. And I started just kind of throwing them around, making a checkerboard feel of it. And when I started to play around with it, I realized, hey, these are colors that are not part of our palette. Maybe I can just take them out and stay true to the color palette. And there was enough graphics for me to do that, so I deleted all the blue, purple and the green, and played around with what I got left. Which is what's really cool about these color palettes. I didn't actually have to Photoshop the colors. Now the blues are a little too blue, but I decided just go ahead and leave them. That's fine. So after I placed them in the way that I liked, I scaled them down to about 40%, and that gave me a kind of a smaller kind of what's on the bow tie, and that looks great. The only thing I really didn't really like about this is it's too squared, so I decided to move the 2nd and the 4th line or column down, but not all the way down. I wanted to move it about half of the way down, just keeping that symmetry, keeping that geometry to it, but at the same time not being too straight or too cut and squared. So once I got that looks great. I went ahead and then dropped it into my template. And my template I have 2 different templates, 1¼ inch strap and a 1-inch strap. And I do have to have templates because I need to know the actual size of the strap. I don't want to have to design. I want to design according to the size of it, because once I start printing, it prints to the actual size, this into inches or centimeters that I have set up on my printer. So I drop it into the template and I start to play around. And so when I once I've done that to all of my designs, I want to make sure that the slacks have some design, and I want to make sure that it looks good in the actual print. I went back to my shop and I started printing these designs. So I started to print, and I quickly realized that there were some errors. I like to print a little bit to discover these things. See that black line, and there's these little things that I forgot to remove on the repeated pattern on those. So I went back and fixed it and reprinted it again, and then when I printed it again, it looked great. So then I needed to press it onto a fabric to get this to be printed. Now I usually print 30 yards at a time, but because I'm doing smalls, I'm doing sample product right now, I need to only print just a little bit. So once I've printed it, I cut it off. It looks bland right now because it's using that sublimation ink. It tends to look like that before it's pressed. I put the fabric on top of the ink, and then I press it. You apply heat and pressure to it, and it pretty much takes the ink, goes from solid to gas, and that gas then binds to polyester. I adjusted the heater. It needs to be to 400 degrees, and it already warmed up. Just added the 30 seconds of press, and then I send it through the heat press. It's a roll-to-roll heat press. You could print from one roll to another, which means you can print as much yards as you want. So once it started to come out, I was really excited. The colors were turning out awesome, and that's kind of what you want with an Easter color. You want those vibrant colors, and so that was really exciting. And so yeah, like I said, normally I print and press like yards upon yards at a time, and I cut with rolls, like with a big electric cutter. So that looks awesome. I love how that looks. Now the little graphics, they were a little bit less detailed, because when you have fabric, there's a lot of this rough terrain that some of the graphics tends to lose its definition. So that was a bit of a concern, but that's fine. I could throw it out and just use different designs. So then I cut it up with just regular scissors and ready to sew it. Once I cut up the top and the bottom of the strap, I go ahead and sew it. I use a 2-needle sewing machine that has 2 bobbins and has a folding attachment that folds the fabric, and I'm able to sew straps like that. Very quick, very fast, really cool. So I did finish them, but yeah, like I said, I tossed this one out, didn't really like it, so I decided to keep these 2. I added the background for the other one, as you guys noticed, because I wanted to get some variation. Then I put it together with the CNC, and let's go to my shop and I'll show you how they turned out. And here we are. These are the colors. Like I said, I really like how these turn out. The colors are very vibrant. I really like this one, the striped one, really cool. And then these bunnies, they turned out really awesome. I like that bubbly, this candy-like feel to them. So really excited to see how they perform on the market. Now, really important to understand that you have to study the market, even how things are designed, because, you know, like I said, people vote with their clicks, they vote with purchases. So you want to see what they have voted, what people are like. Go on Pinterest to understand what they're intending to see, or what they're hoping to see for their dog, or for whatever decoration that you're doing, or whether it's clothing, it doesn't matter. You want to know what they're expecting to find, or what they're preferring to find and want to find, so that you can satisfy that desire, so that they can have an emotional response by saying, oh, there it is, I see, that would work really nice with my flowers. But you were like, you already saw those flowers ahead of time and you designed accordingly. So hopefully that was useful. If it was, hey, smash that like, and hope to see you on the next one if you subscribe and hit the bell notification.